Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings film review. This video will review the Chiefs' 31-0 domination of the Raiders in Week 7 to get up to 4-3 for the 2025 season. Thanks to all of you who follow the film reviews here on YouTube or who follow along with us on social media at STCF715 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And thanks to you who follow the Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings podcast, available here on YouTube or wherever you download podcasts. Let's get into the film review. We're going to start things off in a 0-0 game. We've got 9:31 to go in the first quarter, and the Chiefs have a 1st and 20 at their own 16-yard line. Patrick Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. He sends Xavier Worthy into an orbit motion, but then actually flaring out to the right side and drops back. Steps up and throws over to the right side to Travis Kelce, who's wide open and is able to carry this well into Raiders territory down to about the 40-yard line. All right, so let's take a look at what happened on this play. First off, so after the Chiefs motion, they motion Worthy, and he typically does like the orbit motion and goes back. But if you notice on this one, he actually fakes that and then comes back to the right side to flare out here. So the Chiefs are ending up with 3 receiving options on this side and just Kelce on that side. So personnel-wise, they're in 12 personnel, which they've been doing a lot more. If both in Week 6 and Week 7, they've gone away from 11 personnel, which is 1 running back and 1 tight end, which they had been using a vast majority of their snaps through the first 5 weeks of the year. It's still the majority, but they've cut it down a lot and gotten to a lot more heavy personnel. This one being 12 personnel, there's 1 running back, and we have 2 tight ends. So that leaves 2 wide receivers, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. So what the Chiefs are doing on this play, they're essentially running Kelce on a deep over, and they're running Hollywood Brown on a deep post to kind of clear everything out. Everybody else is running underneath routes. So Xavier Worthy is going to come to the flat, Noah Gray is going to come and sit, and Isaiah Pacheco is going to come and sit as well. So you can see the route combination. We've got 3 underneath receivers. We've got Hollywood Brown clearing out, and then Travis Kelce running the deep over. If you see the Raiders' coverage structure, this is a fairly standard cover 2. So they've got 2 deep safeties, each responsible for a deep half. And then everybody else is picking up a zone underneath. And Landon Roberts, the linebacker here, if you notice, he kind of carries Kelce across, knowing that Kelce's running that deep over, and there isn't somebody else to fall back to pick him up. Everybody has their eyes in the backfield. So that's the only kind of deviation from a just standard spot drop in a cover 2. And Landon Roberts sees the deep over and carries it through. Now, if you look at Mahomes, as he drops back, he sees here they're going to close the post. They have the safety here rotating. So Brown is going to be covered. He's got his 3 underneath options. And Travis Kelce is the 1 intermediate guy. There is going to be a gap between this level of the defense here that Brown is clearing out and this level of the defense here, only mitigated by Landon Roberts carrying Kelce. So this is one thing that Patrick Mahomes does a lot, and he doesn't really get enough credit for it, in my opinion. How much he manipulates defenses with his movement. I think a lot of people are like, well, he doesn't just stand in the pocket. And one of the reasons he does that is he moves, but not always with the intention of scrambling, oftentimes with the intention of moving zone defenders. So I want you to look at, as he steps up toward the line of scrimmage, what happens to Landon Roberts, who's carrying Travis Kelce. Roberts, with his eyes in the backfield, notices Mahomes coming up and thinks he's going to scramble, and he stops his feet. That's enough for Kelce to get a huge advantage. Landon Roberts is not the fleetest of foot. And so when Roberts stops, Mahomes immediately throws it. And Kelce having this much room, that's much more than enough for him, and he's off to the races. So this is really set up by Patrick Mahomes being able to manipulate defenses with his movement to get Kelce open here. I mean, he could probably throw this over route anyway to Kelce without doing this, but this just creates so much opportunity for yards after the catch by getting Roberts to stop his feet, creating that much separation, and letting Kelce catch this just completely wide open. So it was a nice play design. In order to stress the defense, you have to hold the underneath defenders down here because there are 3 receiving options here. Your safeties have gone back with the deep option, and so as long as you can get rid of that one defender that's covering Kelce, you have a huge amount of space, and Mahomes was able to do that with his movement and get a nice deep completion. You can see it here from the end zone view. Mahomes drops back. He's looking to his right first, comes back across, and this is where he sees the opportunity to manipulate the defense. He comes up and throws to Kelce. Ended up being the biggest pass play of the day for the Chiefs, 44 yards. The Chiefs have used rookie running back Brassard Smith out on the perimeter in order to stress defenses. He's a converted wide receiver, so he's got great receiving skills, and he's really agile and quick, which makes him a great option out in open space. Let's look at how they used him against the Raiders, and then we can go back to some plays from earlier this year to see how they've been using him throughout the course of the season. So we're going to start here with 8:51 to go in the first quarter. The Chiefs are still in a 0-0 ball game. They've got Patrick Mahomes in the shotgun. He fakes a handoff to Kareem Hunt and quickly swings it out to Brassard Smith, who gains about 5 yards. So let's look at this play in a little bit more detail. So the Chiefs line up. They've got Pacheco in the backfield. So they're actually got a 2 running back set here. They've got 2 running backs, 1 tight end. That gives you 21 personnel. And then their wide receivers are Thornton lined up here and Juju Smith-Schuster in the bunch with Noah Gray. So what they end up doing on this play, they get an RPO action. So they've got Pacheco as an option to hand the ball off immediately. So if you see, the one way that you know it's an RPO and not just a plain play action is that the line is run blocking. So if you look at the offensive line, they're all moving forward. These are not pass sets. They are moving as if they are run blocking, which means that if you're going to throw this pass, you have to do it quickly because the line of scrimmage is here at the 40-yard line. The offensive lineman can't get farther forward than the 41 before a pass is thrown. So they're blocking as if it's a run. They're not trying to stay behind that 41. So you've got to throw that pass before they get there. If you notice, Mahomes definitely does here. The ball's out of his hands here. Nobody's up to the 41-yard line. A wide receiver can be, but linemen cannot. Ineligible receivers cannot. So that's number one. It's an RPO action. Mahomes decides to hold it on this one because he likes what he's got numbers-wise on the left side. They're having Brassard Smith flare out. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to block down. Noah Gray is going to come out to make a block, and then you're going to have one man that Brassard Smith has to make miss. So you watch it here. Here comes Juju. Block. Noah Gray is going to come out and lead. And you're giving your quick guy on the perimeter a chance to make a play here. In this case, the defender does a good job of coming and closing, but still an easy 5 yards for the Chiefs. So in this case, they set it all up by having Smith as part of the bunch. And one thing that you'll notice is they're always going to keep wide receivers with him, or in this case, a tight end and a wide receiver that are good blockers, right? You're typically not going to see like Xavier Worthy out here, right? He's a slight guy. He's a willing blocker, but that's not really his strong suit, especially with a torn labrum. So the wide receivers are usually people like Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashee Rice will probably be in here now, Thornton, guys that are kind of effective and willing blockers. But again, you see the concept. We're going to have just the down block. We're going to have block here, and then give Brassard Smith a chance against a guy in space. Easy 5 yards for the offense. You can see it here from the end zone view. Again, quick throw, RPO action. You can see how if you're just watching the line, this looks like a run play. Everybody firing off the ball, coming forward. Quick pass. Easy 5 yards. So we get an example of how the Chiefs can utilize this threat to stress defenses on the very next play. If you notice, the Chiefs are in the exact same formation with the exact same personnel. Patrick Mahomes is in the shotgun. He takes a snap, pumps as if he's going to throw to Brassard Smith, and throws it downfield to Noah Gray, who gets a big gain, 28-yard gain, and a first down into the red zone. All right, so what do the Chiefs do here? Well, they have the exact same kind of idea. So, again, same personnel. We've got Isaiah Pacheco and Brassard Smith are our two running backs. Noah Gray is the tight end. That's 21 personnel. Juju Smith-Schuster is over in the bunch, and Tyquan Thornton is here isolated. And they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to flare Brassard Smith out. They're going to have Juju come over as if he's going to do the same blocking action, and Noah Gray as if he's going to do the same blocking action. But this time they run past the people that they're supposedly blocking and run out into pass routes. So let's watch that real quick. So look, here comes Juju, here comes Noah Gray. So both of them run out in the pass routes. And Patrick Mahomes, if you see, he pumps over to Brassard Smith, who also fakes as if he's catching the ball over here. And look at what it does to the defenders. Particularly look at these two. So you get the pump over there. This defender drops down and completely releases Noah Gray, lets him go. And this defender comes down as well, looking for that play. They just saw the screen to Brassard Smith, literally the previous play. And then they release Juju. Mahomes has his pick. He's got Juju and Noah Gray running free. He picks down the sideline, which is smart. More room to run. And Noah Gray makes a catch and gets down the field for a 28-yard gain. The other part of this that's very important to note, look at the offensive line here. They're not run blocking this time. This isn't an RPO. They are pass blocking here because this is more slow developing. They can't go past the line of scrimmage, that yard past the line of scrimmage. They'll be inelligibly downfield. So the first play was an RPO. There was an option there. This time they know it's a pass play, so the line's actually dropping back and pass blocking. And Mahomes pumps. That gives him time to actually read the defense because he doesn't have to worry about the line getting downfield. And a nice, easy completion to Noah Gray down the sideline. So they use that threat of Smith on the sideline to get defenders to come up and then send receivers down past them for easy completions. You can see it here from the end zone view. Really appreciate. Look how different the blocking looks up here. Everybody's backpedaling into pass sets, and Mahomes with a quick look over there, the pump. And then he looks downfield and sees Gray. Easy completion. So you already see some wrinkles off of the initial action that they used with Brassard Smith. So let's go to 5:01 to go in the second quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are up 14-0, and they have a 1st and 10 at their own 27-yard line or so. So we've got Mahomes in the shotgun in empty. He takes a snap and quick throw to the left of Brassard Smith, cuts it upfield, and ultimately gets tackled just shy of the 45-yard line. So we've got a different entry point, a different way to get Smith the ball on the perimeter. This time, if you see, Smith is the only running back on the field. The Chiefs are actually lined up in 12 personnel again. They've got one running back, Brassard Smith, and they've got two tight ends, Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, and then two wide receivers. This looks like Juju on this side, and that looks like Xavier Worthy. So Mahomes, in this case, he just picks up the snap, quick throw over to his left, and this time you've got the entire team just screaming over to lead block here. So they're trying to create a convoy for him. So rather than before when you just had the pass catchers on that side trying to set up a numbers game, here you've got everybody. The pass catchers, the line, everybody moving over. So if you see Juju gets out ahead, trying to get the corner, Noah Gray comes out and tries to get Jamal Adams here, the safety, and then that's giving time for the offensive line to move down the field. I mean, look, you've got Kingsley out here, you've got Creed out here, Jalen Moore, Mike Caliendo's coming out here. Like, everybody is creating a convoy, and the way that he was able to, I think, Jalen Moore in particular, kind of getting enough, but then of this player to block him, but then continuing to get downfield. And then Noah Gray creating this block here gave a nice little cutback lane that Brassard Smith. This is where that kind of vision and agility of a running back meets the pass catching and ability out in space of a wide receiver. And he's just follows his blocks and actually manages to run to daylight. If Mike Caliendo is able to make this block here on Jeremy Chin, he's going to take this to the house. Like, Brassard Smith's going to score. Unfortunately, Caliendo isn't quite able to make this play, and Brassard Smith gets tackled by the last line of defense. But he's one block away from this would have been like a 77-yard touchdown or whatever. But again, a nice different way to get Brassard Smith the ball on the perimeter, continuing to make defenses have to cover all the way to the sideline. And Andy Reid, with his West Coast sensibilities, loves this. So look at the line. Everybody getting on their horse. And it's really, this gap is created. I think a lot of credit here to Jalen Moore for doing enough to block his man here and then to keep things going. So he gets enough of 51 that 51 can't make the tackle. And then he leads Smith down the field. Smith very patiently kind of goes through, and again, if only this block could have been made. And Smith, to his credit, really tries to set up the defender anyway. Look at him trying to make a cut here to see if he can get by, and it's a good tackle by Jeremy Chin. If Chin hadn't gotten him, that he's gone. So let's go back to week 4 now, and let's see some other usage of Brassard Smith on these perimeter plays. So this is the second quarter against the Ravens. The Chiefs have the ball in Ravens territory. You got Patrick Mahomes in the shotgun. He's got Pacheco with him, and they motion Brassard Smith from the right side over to the left. Mahomes swings it over to him quickly, and he gains a couple yards on a quick screen. So see, now we're getting Brassard Smith to the perimeter in a different way, and this is actually how they were utilizing this more early in the season. So whereas in the Raiders game, we were seeing him lined up out here or lined up in a condensed split, here he's lined up on the other side of the field, and they actually move him on an end-around motion and then swing the ball to him. So he's coming around, shifting the defense, and again, Juju and Thornton, these are receivers that they tend to use that are good blockers. They're coming up, and you're trying to create an alley for Brassard Smith to get to where he might only have one man to miss, and hopefully that's a second-level defender. So in this case, Juju and Thornton actually do a pretty good job. Juju gets blown off by his blocker a little bit, but Thornton does a good enough job, but he gets pushed back just enough that Smith's not able to avoid him. He does create a path, but he gets pushed back more than Smith's anticipating, and I think that's what blows this play up. The Ravens did pursue pretty well, though. You can see that even if he gets past here, they were able to get numbers over. This is a well-coached team, the Ravens, so they did pursue this play pretty well. Here it is again, the quick throw over, and Juju normally does quite a good job blocking defensive backs, but he met his match on this one, and then Thornton got moved back just enough that Smith couldn't avoid his feet. But again, another way that they're getting Brassard Smith involved in the perimeter, this time by using the motion around and getting a quick pass to him over there. Now we can see one from the third quarter, week 5 at Jacksonville. This time Mahomes is with Kareem Hunt. He's got 3 on his left, Tyquan Thornton on his right. Takes a snap, quick throw out to Brassard Smith, and he manages to evade defenders and get a first down here. So on this one, this looks a little bit more like what we were seeing early against the Raiders. We've got the trips, we've got Juju, Noah Gray, and Brassard Smith, and we have another running back. So this is again 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. Thornton is isolated on this side. Noah Gray and Juju are over here at Smith. So it's similar personnel to what we saw against the Raiders, except that Kareem Hunt's in the backfield here instead of Isaiah Pacheco. And this one, if you notice this, we're back to the RPO action. The line is coming up and they're run blocking again. So this one, there is the option to hand this off if Mahomes doesn't like the numbers. And this time, the kind of action from the receivers is different. So if you remember, against the Raiders, Juju was up here, Noah Gray was here. And they were leaving the end unblocked, and Noah Gray was coming from the inside to block down, and Juju was... Sorry, no, that's actually not true. Juju was coming from the point to block down, and Noah Gray was coming out. And so here the roles are reversed here, that Noah Gray is leading, but they're both blocking out here. They're trying to get to the perimeter rather than taking out the pursuit defender, which is what Juju did last time. So the kind of blocking assignments are different here. This time Noah Gray's leading out, Juju's coming out, but again, and Smith is able to wheel around and get to the sideline, which allows him to get the first down. So again, I mean, on these plays, it's so clear, the agility and the quickness that Brassard Smith has in the open field, which makes him such a threat on these plays out to the sideline. So again, here's the RPO action. You see the line all run blocking, so Mahomes has to make this throw quickly. Gets it off quickly to Smith, who does a good job navigating around his blockers and getting a big gain. We are again in the fourth quarter against the Jaguars. This time the formation is flipped. We got the trips to the right side. Pacheco's in the backfield now with Mahomes. He takes the snap, quick throw over to Brassard Smith, who cuts it up and gets about 5 or 6 yards this time. So again, we're kind of showing you the same thing. This time flip the field, slightly different personnel. We've got Pacheco in the backfield here. This time, Robert Tonyan is the tight end up there instead of Noah Gray. But they used the same blocking action that they did in the previous play we just looked at. This time, Tonyan goes and Juju follows again. This one, again, is an RPO action. You're going to see the line is coming up. They're run blocking, so there's the option to hand this off. Mahomes likes the numbers, so he throws it to Smith. And if you look, what happened last time was Noah Gray blocked this guy and Juju came outside to get this guy. But in this case, this is why Juju is such a nice open field blocker. He kind of adjusts to what makes the most sense in this situation. He's not just playing one assigned guy. So here, with Tonyan pushing this guy out and this guy staying a little bit to the outside, Juju actually comes and tries to block the pursuit man. And Brassard Smith follows him and gets a gain of about 5 or 6 yards. So again, conceptually very similar to what we saw earlier against the Jaguars. Another RPO, run block, get Juju and the tight end out there and try to get yardage for Brassard Smith. All right, so let's go to week 6 against the Lions. This time we're in the third quarter. We've got Mahomes in shotgun, 2 to his right, 2 to his left. They motion Brassard Smith over. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff. Again, quick screen to Brassard Smith on the sideline. This time he has a pretty sizable gain of about 9 yards. So this is, again, looking very similar to the action against the Raiders, but we get to it in a different way. Instead of having Juju, the tight end, this time it's Travis Kelce, and Brassard Smith lined up here, we start Brassard Smith on the right and actually motion him over to the offense's left at the snap. But we're really creating the same formation that we would see in the Raiders game the next week. We've got Smith, tight end on the inside, Juju on the outside, or Juju at the point. So Juju, again, comes in and he blocks he kind of down blocks, and then Travis Kelce comes out to get the outside man. Again, this is an RPO. Look at the line run blocking here. So there's the option to hand this off, and again, the pass has to be quick. So Mahomes quickly gets it out there. Now you've got Juju block, you've got Kelce blocking a guy, and then here with them kind of leading toward the sideline, there's a chance that you can outrun the pursuit. It's tough, but when you have this guy come inside, then you're really counting on Brassard Smith making one guy miss. When you try to take it to the outside, you're hoping you can wall everything off, and it's possible that he gets a free run. It's tough. I mean, the pursuit defenders are going to get there, as is what happened here. So Smith, again, big gain here. So looking, the Chiefs are really dressing this up, but finding creative ways to get to the same thing. Getting him in space, getting him a couple blockers, and trying to set it up so he's got just one man to beat. Now we're in the fourth quarter against the Lions. Again, we've got the 2x2. 2 on the right, 2 on the left, and motion Brassard Smith over. Same idea as last time. Again, they run the RPO, get it out to Brassard Smith, who again gets about 9 yards or so. So really not a lot different conceptually from the last time. We've got Brassard Smith on the right, Kelce on the inside, Juju on the outside. They motion over, so you get the same formational idea as we saw against the Raiders. Juju's going to block down, Kelce's going to get this guy, and then they're going to let Brassard Smith try to find his path through. Again, it's an RPO. Look at the line, run blocking here. Always the option to hand it off to Pacheco in this situation, but Mahomes gets it off quick and lets Brassard Smith do his magic. And again, about 9 yards he gained there. From the end zone view, you can see the run blocking. You can see the run action here. Quick pass over to Smith. And again, good blocking downfield from Kelce and Juju. Easy 9 yards for the Chiefs. Later in the fourth quarter against the Lions, we've got Mahomes in the shotgun. This time he's got 3 to the left, 1 to the right. Pacheco in the backfield with him here. Takes the snap, fakes the handoff, gets it out to Brassard Smith on the perimeter again. This time a gain of about 4-ish yards, 3 or 4 yards. And now we have another difference in formation. So another way to dress it up to get us here. Again, the same kind of guys are out here, right? Always good blockers. We got Noah Gray and Juju Smith-Schuster. We're still in that 21 personnel. Tyquan Thornton over here, Pacheco in the backfield. This time they've got Brassard Smith in the near slot. Juju, instead of just blocking his man, actually runs a route to draw his man down the field and kind of remove him from the picture. Then we've got Noah Gray blocking here, and the man to miss is the one who's assigned man-to-man on Brassard Smith. This is particularly creative in this situation when you've got single high man, because there isn't really a deep safety on this side. So if things work quickly, there's a chance that Brassard Smith can break this and really go. Again, it's an RPO action, so the line is run blocking. You see him here. Everybody run blocking. There is a run action, an option if desired. This time Smith has to turn the other way quickly because he's like getting on his horse and getting out there rather than being behind the blockers. He's the most inside guy, so he's really got to get on his horse and get out. So he goes out, rotates, makes the catch. Good ball placement here from Mahomes, so he can catch it while rotating out and face forward. And then, as we see, Juju runs his man down the sideline, and so you essentially have one-on-one. In this case, Smith isn't able to get his guy to miss, but you see when there's a single high safety, if Smith gets a quick alley, like there's a chance he just takes this all the way. In this case, he manages to get 4 or 5 yards. But again, a quick gain here and another situation just stressing the defense horizontally, making them cover the whole field. And then this is where wrinkles on top of it become interesting. We saw the wrinkle against the Raiders. The Chiefs have actually used several other wrinkles. Interestingly, some of them they used before they actually started using the screens to Smith very extensively. So let's take a look at some of those. All right, so this is from week 1 in Brazil against the Chargers. This is the second quarter of the game. This one, we've got Mahomes in empty. He's got 2 to his left. 3 to his right, motions Brassard Smith over. Smith runs over to the right, and Mahomes throws a slant to Hollywood Brown on the left side. So here the play is set up. We're moving Smith over to get him over to that side where you have 3 wide receivers that, if you notice, they kind of set up ready to block. Actually, there's a tight end there. That's Noah Gray. So again, it's always these guys, right? It's Thornton, it's Juju, it's Noah Gray, these guys that are known good blockers. So they set up so that Gray is out here, Thornton's coming in, and Juju's ready to lead. But instead of actually going with that action, and this is not an RPO, if you see the line here is pass blocking, right? Everybody's pass blocking. Juwan Taylor even cuts on this side to try to make an easier throw, right? You're always worried on that lateral pass if the defensive end can come in and knock it down or sometimes even intercept it. So a lot of times you cut block that end to try to get his hands down, make sure that he's not going to bat this ball down. But on the backside, they've got a slant to Hollywood Brown. And so if you notice, when they have the action to Brassard Smith, the linebackers flow over that way, creating a void in the middle of the field. So it's nice you have this slant on the back end, and the hope is, in this case, there's zone defense, but especially if they're playing man, you break a tackle, there's a chance for a big play here. So that's a nice wrinkle off of this Brassard Smith action, and you can see we get a really nice all-22 end zone cam for this game. Look at how much the defense is shifting this way. Everybody's shifting this way with the action, and so you get this nice void for the slant on the backside. So here's one way in which the Brassard Smith action can really open things up in the other parts of the field and allow you to try different things off of that action. All right, now this is from the fourth quarter of the Chiefs-Chargers game in Brazil. It's when Mahomes has 3 to his right, 2 to his left. Again, they motion Brassard Smith over like we saw earlier. Mahomes drops back, rolls to his right, and he throws it down to Kelce, who runs it all the way in for a touchdown. So if you'll notice, this is conceptually similar to what happened against the Raiders. In this case, they motion Brassard Smith over so that the motion is set up exactly like before. However, this time you have Juju Smith-Schuster attached so that he can kind of help block on the end for the longer developing route rather than go out and lead block. But you have otherwise Thornton and Kelce doing the same thing, looking like they're coming out, but this time Kelce, instead of blocking the linebacker as everybody's coming in, he just sneaks by as everyone is focused on Brassard Smith and gets into the void. Easy throw there for Mahomes, just over the outstretched arms of the linebacker, and Kelce just jogs that into the end zone. So it's similar conceptually to what they did with Noah Gray against the Raiders. Get the defense all looking down at Brassard Smith. Allow your tight end to just sneak by. Take it all the way for a touchdown in this case. One thing that's kind of even more interesting about this play is that once Smith moves over and this corners rotate, and now you have a corner over condensed, they actually get a blitz from this side and get a free runner, and Mahomes just calmly rolls out to the right in order to buy enough time. He avoids the blitzer for long enough, trusting Juju and Juwan Taylor to take care of, this looks like Khalil Mack over here, rotates, basically just runs away for the blitz long enough to make sure that Kelce can get open, throw that for a touchdown. So again, this was week 1. This was before they were doing as many of the actual screens, but they were threatening it, and that was enough at the time to get defenders to bite and to open things up, like this touchdown to Kelce. Now we move to the Giants game in week 3 in New York. This is the first quarter of the Chiefs-Giants game. Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 1 to his left, 3 to his right. He motions Brassard Smith over to the right, looks there, and then throws a middle screen to Juju Smith-Schuster, breaks a tackle, and gets a pretty big gain here into Giants territory. So again, getting to it from a slightly different way, and we have slightly more personnel here. So we've got 3 already out here. We've got Thornton, Juju, and Hollywood Brown, and this time we start with Brassard Smith in the backfield and motion him over. So he gets motioned over, again, line pass blocking here. So, this is just a standard pass play. Mahomes looks over in his direction, in Brassard Smith's direction, and then throws a no-look pass over to Juju. And as this action is happening, again, look at where the line of scrimmage is. It's the 35. So again, our offensive line would have to be very patient because they cannot get to past the 36-yard line before Mahomes has thrown this ball. So Creed and Trey Smith kind of bide their time here. And then as Mahomes, once he's released it, this is all about timing. Then they're able to get up ahead. And Juju comes in for the middle screen with 2 blockers. The Chiefs actually get this pretty well positioned. Really, the only guy with it that's unaccounted for is the safety back here. And then Juju's trying to make something happen. It's a big gain here. But again, the threat of Brassard Smith widens the defender. Again, everybody's out wide here, and that creates room back in the middle for this middle screen, and it's just the timing is set up perfectly. But again, Andy Reid keeping everybody on their toes. This perimeter action to Brassard Smith has been very important in the offense this year in creating these kinds of wrinkles. In this case, it got space up the middle for Juju in his middle screen to get a big first down here. Apparently, according to Jeff Schwartz, Andy Reid, which makes sense, he has a ton of attention to detail on these screens about where you stand, how long you stand. Everything here is timing, because if the linemen get downfield too soon, this is a penalty. So it's all waiting the requisite amount of time. They release right after the ball is thrown. They get in position, and Juju makes something happen after the catch. Now for a final wrinkle, we'll go to the third quarter of the Chiefs-Lions game. We've got Mahomes in the shotgun. He's got 2 running backs, 1 receiver to the left, 2 to the right. Fakes the action of Brassard Smith to the right and throws a screen back left to Kareem Hunt, who gets inside the 10-yard line for first and goal. All right, so in this case, they're kind of running their, this is more of their typical running back release from the flat, almost like mesh concept, where sometimes they'll send these guys on crossers against man, sometimes they'll send them on digs in order to draw defenders and have the running back get a free run out to the sideline. This case, this ends up being zone defense, so that concept isn't as effective in this situation, but they flare Brassard Smith out to the right again to try to get defensive action, and instead the real concept here is a screen to the left side to Kareem Hunt. They get it out to Hunt. Creed Humphrey gets downfield as a blocker. Trey Smith is helping to prevent pursuit, and Hunt manages to get all the way down inside the 10-yard line for a first down. See it here. There's the release from Creed. And Mahomes does make a gesture over to the Brassard Smith side over here before throwing the screen back left. So as you can see, the Chiefs are using this outside motion to Brassard Smith a lot. This trying to get him the ball out in the perimeter. But equally important is the number of wrinkles and advantages that they're giving themselves by defense's attention to this action. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do. How do they build on this for the rest of the year? What more has Andy Reid got cooked up with this Brassard Smith action, using the athleticism of the rookie to move the ball down the field, both by using him in reality and using him as a decoy? We pick up the action with 5:58 to go in the first quarter in a 0-0 game, and the Chiefs have first and goal at the Raiders' 2-yard line. Patrick Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 2 tight ends and a wide receiver to his right, and you see Rashee Rice motioning over left, and a man comes with him, giving you a man coverage indicator. Rice comes back over to the right, takes a pop pass at the snap, and easily makes his way into the end zone for a touchdown. So the way the Chiefs have this set up, they're in 12 personnel. So they've got one running back. It's Kareem Hunt, who you see a lot in the red zone. And their two tight ends are Noah Gray and Travis Kelce right here, lined up tight to the right side. So one running back and two tight ends gets you 12 personnel. The wide receivers are Rashee Rice, isolated on the right, and Xavier Worthy, isolated on the left. They start by motioning Rice over, and he joins Worthy over on the left, then immediately comes back to get a running start for this pop pass. You see at the snap, the line is kind of run blocking. Because this pass happens so quickly, they don't have to worry about being illegally downfield, so they can just get a jump as if this is a run play. And if you notice, we're letting the guy on the left side of the line, the left end there, he's going to go unblocked because he's going to be essentially irrelevant to this play. And then we're going to down block here, and Creed Humphrey actually is going to go straight to the second level to try to take out the middle linebacker. Then again, we're down blocking here, and then Travis Kelce and then Kareem Hunt coming over are going to help set the edge. So if you look at it, everybody, we've got a hat on a hat. 1, 2, 3. Taylor's coming, and Taylor and Gray kind of get a double team here, and then Gray tries to get to the second level linebacker. Travis Kelce here, and then Kareem Hunt out here. And the line just does a great job of creating that nice pocket for Rice. The only guy who has a little trouble kind of bringing his guy down the line of scrimmage is Trey Smith. But Rice is elusive enough to get by this tackle. And then if you look at it, look at that pocket created. Boom, boom, everybody, hat on a hat. It's just really well blocked. So Rice has very little difficulty just squeezing right through for the touchdown. We can see it here from the end zone cam. Here you see Rice's motion and the response to motion. The timing of the snap on these pop passes is crucial, right? They have to get it just right so that Rice can go full speed, take the ball, and go. And if you see it here again, edge guy unblocked, and here we go coming down. Creed's going to come second level, and he's going to block a Landon Roberts here. And so initially Noah Gray and Juwan Taylor double team Max Crosby, and then Grays tries to come off and get Jeremy Chin. Travis Kelce here, and then Kareem Hunt is going to go get the corner. And again, look at how well this is blocked. I mean, it's just easy. The only guy, like we said, just because of the amount of movement, Trey Smith has to stay ahead of a flowing defensive tackle. And so he struggles with that a little bit. But again, when you're blocking, you just have to do enough. And he does enough. And look at the pocket again for Rice. Once he gets by the defensive tackle, who actually pulls his face mask right here. He was penalized for this, but the Chiefs declined the penalty. But right here, it's just easy. Everybody has their man accounted for, and wasn't difficult for Rice to get into the end zone for a touchdown, his first touchdown of the season. Now we're at the start of the second quarter. The Chiefs are up 7-0, and they have a 4th and 1 at their own 40-yard line. Patrick Mahomes has a full house backfield. He does a false cadence twice to try to draw the Raiders offside, and then acts as though that was the entire goal of the play before quickly snapping it, and Kareem Hunt runs for a first down. So this play got a lot of run on the broadcast because of the acting job from Mahomes. After the 2 fake snaps, then he turns to the sideline and essentially says that this never works, which is generally true. But the intent all along was to run this play, and they do successfully for the first down. So their false cadences are accompanied by these kind of quick movements by Noah Gray looking like he's motioning back, and then Brassard Smith does the same thing. So they motion Gray, they motion Smith. Mahomes looks over to the sideline, gets back in position, and then snaps it. The first thing I'll say is that although it fooled Tony Romo, and he was already ready to tell us, that they were just going to fake the snap, it didn't fool the Raiders. So it's funny for all the discourse and all the fun that everybody had about, Mahomes looked at the sideline, he acted like it wasn't working. If you look at this play, the Raiders are ready to go. Nobody has done anything but given their full attention to this play, and the Raiders are still firing off the snap. So it may have been a fun thing for us viewers to talk about, and it may have faked the broadcast booth at CBS out, but the Raiders were ready for this, and so the actual eye candy didn't really accomplish much. Now, if we see how the play is set up, first of all, this is a real jumbo package from the Chiefs. They're actually in 23 personnel. That's 2 running backs, Kareem Hunt and Brassard Smith, and 3 tight ends. Noah Gray is here, Robert Tonyan is here, and Travis Kelce's here. You actually wonder if Trey Smith had not been injured at this point, and he had been playing guard. I wonder if instead of Robert Tonyan, they would have brought in Mike Caliendo here as an eligible receiver. But in any case, 2 running backs and 3 tight ends. And so what they do here is it's just a simple run ahead with the blind line blocking left. And Kareem Hunt looks like he's trying to go in that A gap on the right side, A or B gap. He ends up in the B gap, but he's really kind of going behind center. Probably the A gap is his first read, right up the middle here. And the only other action that the Chiefs have is they do bring Brassard Smith out, and ultimately that ends up occupying one linebacker who keeps an eye on him. Well, I should say, and the defensive back out here. So these two kind of have their eyes on the action for Smith coming around. Everybody else is involved in blocking up for this play. So Noah Gray tries to seal the backside here, and then everybody else down blocks. And if you look at it, we get some pretty impressive blocks here. I think Tonyan's kind of hanging on for dear life against Max Crosby here, but he does enough. Crosby does get in on the tackle, but not until Kareem Hunt clearly has the first down. But look at Jawan Taylor. Jawan Taylor gets a great angle on this block right here, and look at the movement he gets, just straight down the line. Like, if Max Crosby wasn't able to close this hole so well, Hunt actually would have had a little bit of room to pop through. This is a great block from Jawan Taylor, who's not really considered a run blocker. At least that's not his forte. He's a great, recently has been a great, but usually very good pass blocker with some flaws with his penalties that we have talked about and many Chiefs fans have talked about, although he has cleaned that up quite a bit over the last 4 or 5 weeks or so. But look at this run block. He really just completely clears out space. The other really impressive block here is a double team from Creed and Kingsley. I mean, this is just domination. Look at this block. Just moving bodies here. The Chiefs' offensive line really makes this an easy conversion by how much movement they're able to generate, and Hunt just sneaks in behind for a quick first down. See it from the end zone view. Again, here's the fake cadence. And then here's Mahomes looking over the sideline as if he's saying it doesn't work. And you look like the Raiders haven't broken their focus whatsoever. They're ready, communicating with each other, and Landon Roberts is mugging up in the A-gap. And then when the Chiefs snap it, look at this. Again, this is this guy being blocked by the double team from Kingsley and Creed. Just look at the movement they get here. Just completely out of the picture. And then Caliendo, and then look at Jawan Taylor's block right here. I mean, it's a great block from Taylor, just down block right there. The entire line just completely washes the Raiders' defensive line. If Tonyan was able to get any kind of a seal on Max Crosby, this would have been a gigantic hole. But in any case, it's much more than enough for Kareem Hunt to go up and get the first down. And just so that you can see the cadence, we'll put the broadcast version after this clip so you can see it. You'll be able to hear Tony Romo get faked out. But again, you'll see it on the broadcast as we saw it here. The Raiders don't really react at all. It wasn't really a great fake out, at least results-wise, although it was an interesting idea.
Well, they're going for it on their own 40, on 4th and a foot.
Try to draw him offside. Sorry. Mahomes says, Coach, it doesn't
there they go.
work. He was faking it.
There they go.
Got you.
You would give it up on that one. You thought for sure it was a draw, didn't you?
The Andy Reid.
Draw him offside.
Unbelievable. Pete Carroll even knows this. We're going to make you think we're trying to draw you offsides, and then we're going to go ahead and take a downward punt. And then he goes, And Mahomes goes, gosh, it never works. It never stinking works.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Let me just try it again. Boom, first down.
And Kareem Hunt is the ball carrier to pick it up.
Look at, he's playing.
Yeah. That's all acting.
He's literally acting like, coach, I told you this isn't going to work.
Now we're later on the same drive. There's 9:20 to go in the second quarter. Chiefs are still up 7-0, and they have a 2nd and goal at the Raiders' 8-yard line. Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 2 tight ends to his right. Drops back, throws it over the middle of Hollywood Brown for a touchdown. So let's take a look at this one. Now, we've got Mahomes in shotgun. He's got Kareem Hunt as his running back. Noah Gray and Travis Kelce are over to the right. That's 1 running back and 2 tight ends, gets you 12 personnel. Hollywood Brown is lined up here in the slot, and Xavier Worthy is far to the right. Now, the first indicator you want to pay attention to is when you have all of your defensive backs playing in off coverage, and they're all hanging out about the same distance from the line of scrimmage, that is a very strong indicator pre-snap for cover 0. What does cover 0 mean? Cover 0 means that you do not have a deep player, a deep safety responsible for just keeping a cap on the defense, essentially. You don't have a guy that's playing zone out there to handle the routes to the second level. So practically what that means for a quarterback and receiver is if the receiver beats their man, they're going to be wide open because there's nobody else to account for them. So typically in cover 0, then you're going to have everybody manned up. All the eligible receivers are going to have somebody accounting for them. And then everybody else usually blitzes. If you have one underneath kind of robber guy, is that still cover 0? I think technically, yes, you don't have a deep safety. But typically what you're looking at is man coverage, and anybody who doesn't have a man blitzes. So that's what it's looking like from the snap. In those situations, it's on the quarterback to do 2 things. One is you want to make sure that you get the blitz blocked up as well as possible to give the quarterback as much time as he could possibly have. Because in cover 0, they're going to send more than you have to block, right? Usually, the minimum number of people you're sending in a cover 0 is 6 as a total rush. Because the offense technically has 5 eligible receivers they could use, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in theory, as a defense, you could need 5 defenders to play man-to-man. And since there are 11 players on the field, that means that you have 6 people then to rush the quarterback. So typically in cover 0, you're rushing 6. And if all 5 people are going out in pass patterns, that means you only have 5 people left on the offense to block. So the defense is rushing 6. The offense has 5 to block. You're going to have a free runner. And so the important thing for the quarterback is then to design, communicate the protection such that you know who the free guy is going to be and you know where they're coming from. And ideally you have them having to take as long a path as possible to the quarterback in order to give the quarterback the most time he has to throw. Now, practically what ends up happening usually is instead of sending 5 out on the pattern, you send out 4 and you leave the running back in to help block. So he ends up being a 6th blocker. However, now nobody has to guard the running back, so the defense will send 7 instead of sending 6. And so that's what happens here. Before we get into the route combinations, we're going to see the Raiders rush the 4 linemen. Pacheco stays in to pass protect, and then they blitz 3 linebackers. So they've got 7 total with 6 into block. So what Mahomes is trying to identify pre-snap is, how are we blocking this up? Who's going to be free? Ultimately, Pacheco ends up, what they do is they slide the line to the right and then leave Jalen Moore on an island against his guy. Pacheco comes into that gap to block. And then Caliendo and Humphrey, Caliendo kind of initially helps out on the tackle and then is able to come out and help block on this linebacker. So it's only the middle linebacker here, Landon Roberts, that's free. Now, we'll get into this Raiders blitz because it's kind of weird to me, but let's get back to going down to like the details of the play from the Chiefs' perspective, and then we'll talk about the blitz. So the other thing the quarterback has to do, in addition to identifying his protection, because the defense is always going to send more than you can block, is he's got to make sure that he has hot answers, quick answers in the pass game, so that when the blitz comes, he's got something that he can do immediately. You know that the defenders are going to play somewhat off usually because they don't want to get beat deep. Again, you don't have a deep safety. So if anybody wins really quickly, they could just go to the house. So the defenders play a little bit off. So often something very quick off the line of scrimmage is going to be open. Again, since there isn't anybody in the middle of the field taking care of things, the other thing that's nice sometimes are in-breaking routes. If you run an in-breaker into the middle of the field, there's nobody there to pick it up. So if you can beat your man to the inside, you often have a long way that you can run. So typically you'll see kind of quick routes and in-breaking routes as the answer as hot routes against a cover zero. So that's what the Chiefs do here. The route number one, read number one, is this in-breaker from Hollywood Brown. He basically runs a slant from the slot. Read number two seems to be this whip route from Kelce. He comes in and does a quick out motion and then returns back to the middle of the field. Noah Gray goes out to the flat, another quick option there, and then Xavier Worthy runs back to the corner. So again, watch Raiders blitz. It's just man-to-man. So let's say, Mahomes was in immediate duress. He's got that quick flat to Noah Gray right here. That's not, anything that needs any time to develop. Again, because the defenders tend to stay a little back, they know they don't have any help. Something that is very quick off the line of scrimmage is usually open. So that would be there if Mahomes was under major duress. Now, the way that the blitz is happening, he's not. So he's got a minute. And so he has time to wait for his in-breaking route from Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown's able to cross the face of the defender quickly, and Mahomes throws it right there for the touchdown. If for whatever reason this was covered and Mahomes still had the time, if you look, Kelce's route, he's going to come and then return. This would have also come open in just a second right there over the middle of the field. But by this point, Brown has already thrown it. Worthy's would be the route that would be a little hard to throw in this situation. It's not really a hot route that's intended or very conducive to getting the ball out quickly against a blitz. But Mahomes has three options kind of depending on the time. It really looks like this flat option is the one where it's like something messed up with protection. Someone's coming in free immediately. I don't have time to do anything. Just get it out to Noah Gray. Then the real option that you want is this one that he ends up throwing, the in-breaking round to Hollywood. And if for some reason their blitz is really slow, that whip route to Kelce ends up coming open after. So for some reason Hollywood's not able to win on his route and the blitz is really slow, then you can go to Kelce. Now, I said that I wanted to talk about this blitz from the Raiders because it's a weird looking cover zero blitz. And I think what's really weird about it is how far, all three linebackers start 3 yards off the line of scrimmage. And what that does is that it gives the Chiefs a lot of time. First of all, Mahomes is not under the amount of duress that you anticipate from a cover zero blitz. The pocket is still pretty clean when he makes this throw. And part of the reason is because your added defenders are, they're taking, Mahomes is dropping back here, he plants, and those defenders aren't even at the line of scrimmage yet. They've crossed the line of scrimmage, but they're not at the level of the Chiefs' retreating blockers. So typically on a cover zero, you'll have at least one person mug up at, get close to the line of scrimmage. Oftentimes people do this differently where they'll bring people up and then make the offensive line think about whether they're going to block them or whether they're going to come off. But instead, the Raiders, I don't know that I see this very often. I can't even remember the last time I've seen a cover zero like this. They're so far off the line that watch Caliendo. Caliendo has the time to help out on the tackle then see the linebacker and just go out and get him. Like, he doesn't even have to worry about being surprised by this. He can just read it out. Like, oh, here comes the cover zero. Here comes the linebacker. Like, it's almost like it looks like a delayed blitz, even though it's not. It's a blitz at the snap. It's just coming from so far back. So it's weird. I don't know what to make of it. It's almost like there wasn't a point in blitzing these linebackers because they did not get to a level where they could have affected this play. And all you did was take away middle of the field defenders that could have been very useful in preventing this route from coming open. So I don't know. I don't really get the Raiders blitz at all here. I don't know why they did it that way. Clearly didn't work. And one would not have I mean, if you told me this is what they were going to do, I would have been like, I don't know if that's going to work. And this is why. You can see it here from the end zone cam. Look at how much time the Chiefs have to see the blitz coming. Like, Pacheco comes over. He's not hurried at all, having to come over and block in the hole here. And Landon Roberts is free, but he takes so long to get there. Like, who cares that you have a free runner? Like typically you don't want a free runner coming in. He ends up coming in the B gap. Like, better than in an A gap, but you really want the free runner to be coming from as far away from the quarterback as possible. But it doesn't matter that he's coming right up the B gap because he started so far away and he's not fast enough to get to Mahomes before Mahomes, drops back, throws that. It's just too easy. So I don't really get it. I'm not really sure what the Raiders were doing. It's not like this was a disguised cover zero. Like I said at the top, when you have all your defenders lined up like this, that's what you're thinking, cover zero. So I don't know. But in any case, it was a well-executed play from the Chiefs. And it's nice to see Hollywood Brown now. He's strung a couple games together where he really just looks more athletic. He just looks better than he did last year. He's moving better. He seems more confident. It really bodes well for the Chiefs in how their receiving core is going to shape up this year. When you got Hollywood Brown making plays like he is this year, Tyquan Thornton making plays like he is this year, and then Rice and Worthy are back, it could get very interesting for the Chiefs. All right, now we've got 2:11 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are up 14-0, and they have a 2nd and 10 at the Vegas 44-yard line. Patrick Mahomes is in the shotgun with 2 to his right, 2 to his left. Takes a snap, throws left to Rashee Rice, who easily goes and picks up the first down on about a 12-yard gain. All right, so why is this play interesting? You all will probably remember this as the no-look pass. They made a big deal about this one, too, on the broadcast, and Rashee Rice talked about it afterward. You can actually see here at the very end, Rashee Rice pointing to his eyes and then pointing out to Patrick Mahomes. So what was going on in this play and why was it a no-look pass? Let's take a deeper look here. So the Chiefs are coming out in 11 personnel. They haven't been doing that as much the last couple of weeks as they did to start the year. They've got that's Isaiah Pacheco, and then Travis Kelce, the one running back, one tight end, gets you 11 personnel. Juju Smith-Schuster's in the slot here. Xavier Worthy's in the slot on the left side, and Rashee Rice is out on the boundary. So the Raiders, if you see, are showing a too-high shell. So this looks like a too-high defense. The Chiefs actually don't motion. You've got guys over the top here. So pre-snap looks like it could be cover 2 man. Certainly could be a cover 2 zone as well from the pre-snap look. But as Mahomes snaps the ball, they actually rotate. This safety stays down. This safety is rotating up into a single high. This is actually a cover 3. So you can see this corner getting depth, this corner getting depth. So essentially you're going to have 1, 2, 3 guys responsible for deep thirds. This safety is buzzing down, and then you're going to have underneath defenders trying to help manage. And you actually, if you notice, the defensive tackle here kind of comes in and then comes out as like a little drop zone. If you all remember, this confused Patrick Mahomes. He actually threw it right to the defensive tackle at one point in this game, who dropped the pass. So the Raiders tried this action a couple times just to see. I think they were prepared for, quick underneath routes from Rice and or Worthy, and so they were trying to get the tackle to pop out and be right in the passing lane. Like we said, Mahomes tried to throw into Rice this way a little bit later, and the defensive tackle dropped it. In this case, though, that's not what the Chiefs were doing. What they were doing, they were running on this side. Juju and Kelce were running in cuts, and this is where these two are so dangerous. When you have this zone look, they're just going to come out and they're going to find gaps in the zone. In this case, we don't get to see them work their magic because Mahomes was working the other side of the field and already had to throw in the ball here. And so what the Chiefs are doing on this side is they're essentially high-lowing a linebacker. Well, that's not true. They're high-lowing the corner, and they're getting the linebacker to have to decide inside versus outside. So this is essentially what it's called a smash concept. You run the inside guy, runs a corner pattern, outside guy runs a hitch route. So you put these zone defenders in conflict. Now, in a cover 3, this corner has to bail because as he sees Worthy getting depth, if this is a corner pattern, which it is from Worthy, this guy is going to be the one who's responsible for that deep third. So even though he sees Rice sit, he can't wait for Rice because nobody's going to follow Worthy out to the corner if Worthy goes. So this guy has to bail. And so then it leaves the linebacker in this position trying to decide, okay, do I cheat more over here or cheat more over here? And this is why this is a no-look pass. Because Mahomes looks at Worthy to keep the linebacker inside, to keep his passing lane to Rice open. As this guy bails, he knows that this linebacker is the only person that can get in the way of a throw to Rice here. So if he keeps his eyes on Worthy, he's going to prevent the linebacker from getting close enough to Rice to affect this throw. So Mahomes looks at Worthy and throws it over to Rice, and they get an easy first down completion. You can see it a little bit better from the end zone view from Mahomes' perspective. You'll see his eyes are in this direction. You can't actually see Xavier Worthy from this camera view, but that's where his eyes are looking, so you'd expect the throw to also go in this direction. But then look at the trajectory of the throw. The throw comes much more in that direction because he's throwing it out to Rashee Rice as he's looking over at Worthy. And now you can see where Worthy is right here on this cut. So you can see how Mahomes looking right there, and then look where the ball goes, out wide. So a nice job of manipulating the defense with his eyes, and there's a purpose to this no-look thing. He's not just doing it for the highlights. It helps him keep his receivers open and get the offense in advantageous positions. We're now later on the same drive, 1:17 to go in the second quarter. Chiefs are up 14-0, and they have a 3rd and 14 at about the Raiders' 36-yard line. Mahomes again in the shotgun, again 2 to his right, 2 to his left, and he motions Worthy over to the right, leaving Hollywood Brown isolated over on the left. He takes the snap, he drops back, and he tries to climb the pocket. He throws left to Juju Smith-Schuster. The ball's tipped, but Juju still makes the catch for a 19-yard gain and a first down. All right, so what we've got here is 11 personnel again. Kareem Hunt is the running back. Travis Kelce is the tight end. And then your wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster. Worthy's here in the slot. Hollywood Brown is on the left side. And so you're going to move Worthy over. And here the Raiders are again showing an open, middle of the field open coverage. It looks like a 2-deep shell. But they're kind of showing what looks like it's going to be cover 4. Right? They've got 4 guys well off the line of scrimmage, 2 safeties back. So it looks like at the very least it's going to be a 2-deep shell, and it's going to be cover 2 versus cover 4 kind of principles. But then you watch the Raiders at the snap here. Again, they rotate this safety down, and they bring the corners back, and they're running cover 3 again. So here you go. You got 3 guys responsible for the deep zones. This safety comes down to help with the underneath. The Chiefs had their 3 men on the right side. So from the left, they have Hollywood Brown just coming in and running an out route. And on the right, out of the bunch, they've got Worthy coming in for a curl. Kelce is going to come with a more intermediate sit, and Juju is going to run through and trying to find a hole in the zone over here. And I think I want to start by talking about Juju because I just love how he plays against zone. I mean, he's so instinctual. It reminds me a lot of Kelce. It's so nice to have the two of them on the same team because watch Juju here as he comes. He's turning his route to try to make himself available. And he first initially appears to try to settle here in the zone right here. You can see him kind of tempo his route down and slow down. But this corner is, the safety, I should say, that's come down in the robber roll is moving in this direction. And Juju sees it and watch him accelerate slightly to get to the other side of the defensive player. So he kind of tempos down and then, okay, let's go over here. And he's ready as the defender tips the ball to adjust to the ball, make the catch, and go down the field. Now, I think a lot was made of this play because, and then again later you'll see, well, you won't see it on this film review, but later is when the defensive end or defensive tackle popped out and should have had an interception but dropped it. So I think this play gets lumped in with that play as like, wow, Mahomes, this one was tipped, this one should have been picked, but I actually don't really have as much of a problem with this play. The defensive end popping out, that was unfortunate. The defense was ready for tendency and they got Mahomes. Little worrisome that, defenders popping out have gotten our quick game twice in the last 3 games. And that this one at least we got lucky, wasn't picked. But like I said, this one wasn't so much like Mahomes reading anything poorly or getting tricked. I think this was Mahomes just feeling it. He's just throwing a no-look pass to Rashee Rice early in this drive. And I think he's just really feeling himself here. Because what it looks like he's doing is he's again looking over toward to Xavier Worthy this time. He's looking over there, and then at the last minute is turning his body and throwing over to Juju. So it's not quite a no look, but he's just at the last second turning over and throwing there. And I think it works in that, like, you see him looking over here is what draws the safety this way. And the safety moving that way is the reason why he wasn't able to stop on a dime and intercept this pass. But I think Mahomes' late throw, or his I shouldn't say late throw, but his attempt to not really show what he's doing and make that turn to that throw very late and quickly throw it, knocked off his accuracy a little bit. And I think that was really the issue with this throw that allowed it to get tipped. So you watch Mahomes, he's over toward his right. He seems to be staring down Worthy directly. Worthy even appears to be thinking that's what's happening. And then look, here is when he decides to throw it to Juju. And I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to throw it in this gap past the defender. But because of the way he's positioned, he's standing, he's trying to create the impression that I'm looking over here. He's then trying to throw across his body without his feet behind him at all, and so he just doesn't quite get that pass as far over as he's like. Now, it is also possible that because he's looking over there, he doesn't see the safety. Like that's possible. I think it's a little more likely because he has, when he drops back, he checks the safeties. So I think he will have identified cover 3 right here, right? So when you see this guy coming back as like a middle of the field close safety, this guy has come down. So I think it's a little less likely. It's possible, but it's less likely to me that Mahomes has not identified that there's going to be a safety here. I think what he's trying to do is pull coverage with his eyes. And then once that coverage comes, which is ultimately what happened, it was just sloppy, then he can throw behind that coverage and complete it to Juju. And he just didn't get quite enough of that throw to the left. He would have wanted to put this just like a foot or two even more to the left. So it's out of the reach of the safety who is coming to Mahomes' right. And it would have been a cleaner play. But I think this was just kind of, things are going well for Mahomes, up 14-0. He's just throwing no-look pass. I think he's just trying to get a little fancy. It's not a game that's extremely risky at this point. And I think he's trying to make a play and almost throws it to a defender, but gets a big completion to Juju. We're now at 13 seconds to go in the second quarter. Again, same drive. Chiefs are up 14-0, and they have a 1st and goal at the Vegas 3-yard line. Mahomes has 3 to his right, and he's got Rice isolated on the left side. He motions Kareem Hunt to the right, throws it back shoulder to Rice for an easy touchdown. So, they go with the trips on the right side, and then they motion Hunt over, so it really ends up being a 4-by-1. And what that really does here is it ensures that you really do have complete one-on-one here on the backside. So when you get 4 of your 5 eligible receivers running routes from the right, the defense has to account so many bodies over here. If you notice with the motion, even the backside safety is now coming over to try to help in case there are any crossing routes over here. So most, if teams don't play man, they tend to play like a man match in the red zone. Teams rarely play like a pure zone defense. So they're going to allocate numbers toward where you allocate numbers. And so one way to take a receiver that you really like one-on-one and to give him an opportunity to make sure he's one-on-one is to create your 4-by-1 set. This is kind of what the Eagles were doing defensively to the Chiefs. The Chiefs would do 3-by-1 and 4-by-1 sets in the Super Bowl, and the Eagles were kind of showing teams that, hey, if you bring another person over, then and you trust your corner. See, if you trust your corner to lock up man-to-man here, which the Eagles did in the Super Bowl and they did successfully, then you make it really hard for the offense to do anything from this side too when you add that extra defender. So watch the Raiders doing that as Kareem Hunt motions over. They essentially, Rice, there's no help on Rice. There's not a defender to the right of, clearly the numbers, but even inside the numbers, there's no defender. So sorry, I should say to the left. It's just one-on-one. And so that's what this motion accomplishes for the Chiefs. Then you can have Rice, as long as he gets a good release, which he does here. He does a good job of making sure he's not jammed. Gets an outside release. And then it's just too easy. Mahomes throws it back shoulder. The defender doesn't have eyes. The most important thing about a back shoulder throw for the quarterback is you just want to make sure the defender's not looking. You can throw a back shoulder when you see the defender's back. Because since you're throwing it short, if the defender's ready and he's looking and he has better, position over the top, he's just going to pick that and take it the other way. So you need a defender that is trying to catch up, trying to get back on top of the receiver, and then you can throw a back shoulder here if you and the receiver are on the same page because the defender is just not ready for it. And Rashee Rice used to do this in college. Mahomes is not really a back shoulder guy. He threw another one in this game. He threw one to Hollywood Brown and they weren't on the same page. But this isn't really what he does. I remember him doing it a couple times to Juju Smith-Schuster back in 2022. He did it once to Kelvin Benjamin. I think that was in 2018, I believe. But that's not really, he's not a contested throw guy. He's not a back shoulder guy. But Rashee Rice is good at this. And so it's nice to see him try it and do it successfully. If they add this to the repertoire, which again, we've been saying since Mahomes was doing it in 2022 to Juju, but if this becomes a little more of a consistent thing, it's just another weapon that they can use here. And this is easy pitch and catch for a touchdown. You can see, again, watch the effect that the Hunt's motion has on the safeties, especially this backside safety. As he gets over, just completely one-on-one on the backside for Rice. No help. Easy touchdown for the Chiefs. Let's pick up the action with 10-10 to go in the third quarter. The Chiefs are up 21-0 at this point, and they have a 1st and 10 at the Vegas 27-yard line. Mahomes is in shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. Sends Worthy in motion right to left, creating a 3-by-1. takes the snap, gets pressured and rolls out to the right, comes up toward the sideline, stops and throws back across the field to Xavier Worthy, who makes the catch and ends up gaining 12 yards and getting another first down. So this was kind of the more vintage ad-lib Mahomes. But let's take a look at what the Chiefs were trying to do here. So they are in 11 personnel. That's one running back, Kareem Hunt, one tight end, Travis Kelce's out on the boundary. And if you see the pre-snap indication here, the Raiders appear to have one deep safety. So this looks like cover one man. So then you're expecting everyone to be manned up. And then you're going to have one defender who's like the underneath robber defender. Now the Chiefs motion Worthy over, and they essentially run 4 verts. So if you're a Madden guy, they've got like Kelce, then they've got Hollywood running up the numbers. Worthy is going to carry this more into an over, and then Rashee Wright running the vertical over here. So they're going to take on the single high cover one safety and challenge everybody in man to run 4 verts. Mahomes takes the snap, and this is one of the poor snaps that Jalen Moore has, and he loses pretty quickly. Jawan Taylor also struggles on this snap. He gets beaten to the inside, and so that's what forces Mahomes to bail. It's really unfortunate because as you see Mahomes plant here, he doesn't quite have the time, but right here, I mean, Hollywood Brown wins, so if Mahomes isn't coming off his spot now and having to run, and so does Travis Kelce. So Mahomes has options on options. He's got Hollywood Brown that could be a touchdown. The throw to Travis Kelce could be a touchdown, but Mahomes is having to run for his life because both of his tackles lost their blocks, unfortunately. The other thing too is Worthy is winning this route too, and the defender compensates by holding him, and Worthy falls down. You can see the hold right there. The official saw the hold, and you can see he's just throwing his flag. There's the flag right there, flying through the air and landing right there. And I think that Mahomes saw this flag because he's looking over there, and I think that's part of the reason why he made this throw. He just threw it across knowing that essentially this was a free play from this point. Threw it back over to Worthy, and he does trust Worthy. He's thrown one up to Worthy in the AFC Championship game last year, and that was rewarded. Worthy that makes a nice strong catch. You know, he didn't seem like a contested catch guy, at least fighting through contact, but I will say he's got strong hands. When he's going up for the ball that somebody else is going up with, he seems like he is a good bet to be the one that comes down with it. Even if, you know, the actual physicality he struggles with, actually like squeezing the ball and fighting a defender for the ball, he seems to handle pretty well. But it's the vintage Mahomes play, you know, throwing it all the way across the field. This is a throw that depth-wise, it's only, he's throwing it from about the 28-yard line over to about the 14 or 13. So depth-wise, it's like a 15-yard throw, but he throws it like halfway across the field as well. But I really don't think he makes that throw if not for this flag being thrown. I think he sees the flag. He's looking over at Worthy, and the flag's thrown right in that area, and I think he knows, well, might as well let it loose then. He's certainly not nearly as risk-averse as he was last year, and I think that's because of how well the offense is playing. Like, he knows there's a little room for error now. You know, I can really just try to make plays again. And if we make a mistake, okay, not ideal, but we can go back and get it because this offense is ready to go. But it is a shame, you know, if he had the room, look at Kelce, Brown, and if Worthy wasn't held, all three of those guys on the left side ended up winning. And it would have been fun to see him throw a big touchdown there. There we go. A couple plays later, we now have 9:05 to go in the third. Chiefs up 21-0, and they have a 2nd and 2 at the Vegas 7. Mahomes is under center. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. Hands off left to Pacheco, who cuts it up and into the end zone for a 7-yard touchdown run. Pacheco's first rushing touchdown of the season. So the Chiefs ran a lot from under center in this game. They didn't run that many exotic running concepts, but they have kind of improved in their usage of under center, and Pacheco seems just a lot better suited, getting a nice head of steam, and it looks like he can read things out a little bit better from under center. So we've got 12 personnel. Pacheco is the running back. The 2 tight ends are Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, and then we've got Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. So here it's really the left side. They're running to the left, and Jalen Moore with his nice kick out block. Kingsley ends up getting a second level and blocking the linebacker, and then Creed comes and creates a nice push here, and that's all that's required on this one. Those 3 do their job. Caliendo kind of whiffs. He's really trying to get around this defensive tackle, and he whiffs there, but it's enough that Pacheco, with his head of steam, is able to get to the hole before it can be closed off. So the backside doesn't do a great job blocking this, but the front side does do a great job. And then Pacheco cuts this back very nicely. So as he's coming up, instead of following Creed, he notices there's no pursuit on the backside. Landon Roberts has run this over into the other gap and actually ran himself into being blocked by Creed. And so instead of trying to take this up behind Creed, Pacheco cuts it back. And Jeremy Chin had been widened by Noah Gray's motion across the formation. You see Noah Gray comes across the formation here. That's one of the reasons why Jeremy Chin didn't close entirely. If you watch Chin in this play, he looks and then he sees Gray and stops. And then because of that, he's not able to come close right here and make a tackle, and Pacheco's able to get into the end zone. See it from under center again, and the Raiders were kind of scrambling on this. They actually got called for 12 men on the field. And you see here, good block here. Creed's going to come up. Kingsley is going to come block Landon Roberts. And even though Caliendo isn't quite able to hold here and hold his block, and Juwan Taylor's not able to hold his block, they're backside guys, and Pacheco has enough of a head of steam that he's able to get by. And then again, instead of following Kingsley and Creed, he cuts this back because Chin is not able to close this. So good vision here from Pacheco, just cutting it back right upfield and getting in the end zone for the touchdown. Let's get to 7:50 to go in the third quarter. Chiefs are up 28-0. The Raiders have a third and about 8 at their own 37-yard line. Geno Smith is in the shotgun. He's got 3 to his right, 1 to his left. Motions Tucker, drops back to throw, and is quickly sacked by Chris Jones to end another drive. You'll notice in this film review we don't have a lot of defensive plays. In fact, this is the only one we have on the film review, and part of that is that the Raiders' offense was so inept in this game that there just wasn't a lot to say. It was kind of hard to evaluate the Chiefs' defense, honestly. I can tell you that the Raiders' offense didn't play well, but what that says about the Chiefs' defense, kind of hard to say. Now, they did what they were asked to do, and they made plays against an offense that wasn't playing well, but there weren't a lot of kind of splash plays to point out apart from this one. Anyway, let's see what this one was. So this is a 3rd and long here, and the Chiefs are in their dime package. They've got Nick Bolton as their only linebacker, and they've got 6 defensive backs on the field here with their 4 down linemen. It looks like they have 2 true defensive tackles this time. That does look like Jerry Tillery there. So no, that's Charles Omenihu. So no, they have 3 ends and a tackle. They've got Chris Jones in here, and then they've got Jelati, Omenihu, and Karlaftis on the field. So they don't do anything too crazy, except they rush Bolton and drop Gelati out. And it looks like they're just running quarters here, man match coverage. And they do a good job of kind of keeping everything capped. I think more than anything, I'm really impressed with, since they dropped Gelati out. So you see what the Raiders do in their route combination. They're taking it a little down the field. This is a 3rd and long situation here. So it's a little longer developing, which is one of the reasons why Geno has nothing to go to quickly when he sees pressure. But if you look, coming down the field, you've got over the top, underneath, and then on this side, they've got a full box. And the one route that could have made things complicated here is they've got Tucker, who's very fast, coming on a drag over the middle, and you have a defensive lineman, Ashton Gelati, who's dropping into that area, and he does a good job of just carrying that here. If he hadn't had the awareness, this could have been a guy that kind of ran free across the middle, and if Geno was able to drop it to him, that could have been interesting. But a nice job, nice play call by Spagnuolo, and a nice awareness from Gelati to see Tucker come across the middle and kind of interfere with his route there, get in front of him. So all in all, the coverage was fantastic, and then Chris Jones just walks the guard, Jackson Powers Johnson, right back into Geno's lap. I mean, this was a great day for the pass rush, part of that being that the Raiders just have a lot of overmatched offensive linemen right now, unfortunately. But they end up doubling. Bolton's the guy that sees a double, the way that things got set up. And then Karlaftis and Jones just absolutely collapsed the left side from the Chiefs' perspective, or the right side from Geno's perspective of his line. And particularly Chris Jones just walks the guard right back into Geno's lap. And Smith doesn't really have anything he can do here. We'll see it from the end zone view. So he takes the snap. He just goes right through the guard's chest here. No chance at all, just on skates. And Geno tries to step up and around it, but absolutely no chance here. Great rush from Chris Jones. Easily his best game of the year, in my opinion. The defensive line in general, like I said, looked really good. Hopefully this will translate to playing against better opponents. So we got the final play of our film review. This is from 4:56 to go in the third quarter. Yes, the last play is still in the third quarter. That's how much of a beatdown this was. The Chiefs starters didn't play the fourth quarter. And you know how big of a deal it is for Andy Reid to pull his starters in the third quarter. He's so conservative about pulling starters. Anyway, we're at 4:56 to go in the third quarter. Chiefs are up 28-0. They have a 1st and 10 at their own 25-yard line. Mahomes has 2 to his left, but then motions Worthy over to the right to create a 3-by-1. He drops back, steps up through the pocket, and throws deep left to Tyquan Thornton. Makes the catch for a 39-yard gain, flipping the field. So the Chiefs are in 11 personnel. They've got their running back Isaiah Pacheco, tight end Travis Kelce is lined up, split out wide. They have Tyquan Thornton and Xavier Worthy in the slot over here, and they have that's Juju Smith-Schuster, it looks like, condensed on the right side, or on the left side. So if you look at what the Raiders are doing, the Raiders seem to be running a pretty standard cover 4. So you can see from the pre-snap, they've got a pre-snap split field safety look. Corners are playing a little off, but this could be like cover 2 versus cover 4. But then you see as they drop, they look like they're splitting the field into fourths here. And so this safety is kind of in the middle of the field right here as he's trying to close the post coming across, but you basically have each of them with a quarter of the deep field responsibility. It looks like a pretty straight cover 4 drop, and then you have 3 underneath defenders here. what the Chiefs are doing here, Juju's isolated over here. He runs an out. Xavier Worthy is going to come intermediate level. So this ends up being kind of like a flood concept to the left side of the zone. So Juju's going to come here. Worthy's your intermediate. And then Thornton runs like a deep post. So you get 3 hitting that same area. You can see them all at 3 different levels here. 1, 2, 3. Creating stress on the defense here. And then Kelce from his position runs a dig over the middle of the field late. And so what this route combination really does is, with Juju coming out more the flat, that captures the underneath defender. Worthy is a threat that captures the deep defender on that side. So remember, we have quarter responsibilities. Now Thornton's running the post, and he's going to take the safety. But the safety's not going to have the help of this deep defender, because Worthy's intermediate route has put him in a bind where he's either got to come up to Worthy or drop back to Thornton. I don't even know that he sees Thornton. But if he were to have dropped back here to Thornton, then you've got Worthy isolated on a linebacker, who actually is not doing a bad job sticking with him at this point. But since the corner sits on Worthy's route, then Thornton's one-on-one with the safety over the top. Mahomes likes that, and so he throws that easy completion for a big gain over there. Mahomes does a good job here of, he moves a lot of times in order to create time and or space. In this case, he's not really moving the zone defenders with his movement, but he gives enough time for Thornton to come across and get open so that he can make this throw. And running through it allows him to step through the throw. Big gain for a first down. You see it from the end zone view. Mahomes, as he needs a little bit more time, steps up and through, sees Thornton. Big first down for the Chiefs. So you like to see the deep game going again with Thornton. And Chiefs offense really, they weren't tested very much by the defense. There's one caveat I have from this game as a whole, is that the Chiefs played well, but they also weren't really tested heavily. So it's what you're supposed to do. They came in, they did everything that one could ask. They utterly dominated the game. And let's see how that translates going forward. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to all of you who follow our content here on the YouTube channel, or if you follow the Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings podcast wherever you download podcasts. Thanks also to those of you who follow us on social media. We're at STCF715 on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Thanks again. Until next time.